hot hell darkness. Your room is ready, child. Enjoy your stay. It used to be the case that from little acorns did mighty oaks grow. But not anymore. Nowadays, thanks to genetic modification, mighty hat stands can be grown from acorns. Now that they can manipulate genes, they can make a man from a cheese sandwich, a woman from a bar of soap, a girl from the giggle box of a hyena, and a boy from a pair of smelly trainers. It's a mad, mad world out there, should we choose to let it be so. This is the Visitor's Book, where all the grisly tales of all my wicked guests are written down. Want to see why one of these bad children is down here? This is Broccoli's story. I call it Hear No Weevil, See No Weevil. 1 hour after Broccoli Brassica was born, she did a huge green poo and insisted on the nurse weighing it for the record books. At that moment, it became clear that size was everything to Broccoli, even down to her 4x4 pushchair with bull bars up front. I can't reverse. You'll have to back up or we'll be stuck here all day. She lived in the country village of Sleepy Backwater on the Mould, a place where vegetables were important. This is not to say that the mayor and vicar were slightly dull people who needed to get out more, no. This was a place where the annual fruit and vegetable competition used to occupy its honest residents all the year round. When she was big enough to hold a trowel, Broccoli's parents taught her how things were done in the village. We like to grow things. And if we grow a particularly beautiful vegetable, we like to show it at the show. By beautiful, I assume you mean big. Not necessarily. No, you do, because big is beautiful. Yes, but big also attracts the weevils. What are weevils? The curse of harvest competitions. Little beetles that love fruit and vegetables. The bigger the better. They use their flesh-busting jaws to suck out the pulp and leave a wrinkled pile of empty skin. If they're only little, I shall squash them with my shoe. If you can see them, they fly in and feast, and nobody knows they're there. Have you never heard of the saying, hear no weevil, see no weevil? How do they do it? They fly at 37.64 kilometers per hour, the exact speed at which the human ear ceases to pick up sounds and the human eye has a blind spot. You mean weevils are invisible? Until they eat. Then they become heavier and fly more slowly. That is when you see them. And when they see you. Everything looks like food to a weevil. But Broccoli was not going to let some silly little beetles stop her from growing the biggest fruit and vegetables in the village, because big would win. And to make sure big really did mean big, she did away with water, sunshine and manure and plumped instead for the outlawed science of genetic modification. It was so simple. One trip to a local science supplies store for a syringe, a pipette and a bottle of growth hormone. One theft from the kitchen. A bit of scientific whisking. Inject the solution through the skin of each fruit and vegetable, and Beth's your uncle. Easy. I can't think why scientists make such a fuss. Broccoli, what are you doing? Nothing. Have you been messing around with cells and stuff? Might have been. You can't tamper with nature, Broccoli. It's cheating. Somebody will find out. Who? The judges? The weevils. Don't you listen? They always go for the biggest crops first. If your genetically modified cheeks are half as big as you say they'll be. But that's why I've planted them in the greenhouse. Weevils may be clever, but they can't fly through glass. That depends. On what? On how big they are. You mean not all weevils are the size of flying ants? Not all flying ants are the size of flying ants. Not anymore. Broccoli wondered what he meant. It wouldn't be much longer until she found out. That night, as the village clock struck midnight, the cells in her harvest mutated by moonlight. In the morning, her fruit and vegetables looked as if they'd been inflated with a bicycle pump. Her carrots were as long as umbrellas, her peas were as big as beach balls, and her raspberries were the size of bowler hats. But Broccoli also found a breadfruit tree growing croissants, an eggplant growing a full English cook's breakfast, and a tomato plant growing tinned tomatoes. Realising that these freaks of nature would never win her the competition, she threw them on the compost heap. All except for the cauliflower, which she picked and kept as a pet. And a very good pet it made too, because it spoke fluent English. I don't think I am scared of weevils. Funnily enough, my biggest fear is cheese sauce. If only Broccoli had paid more attention to the compost heap, she might still be with us today. But she thought she had the competition sewn up and the weevils beaten. And that was the night the weevils came. How could little beetles do this? We did warn you. They're not little anymore. Those plants you put on the compost heap. The ones with the growth hormones in. The weevils ate them. They didn't have to fly through the glass to get into your greenhouse. They simply stamped on the roof. They didn't eat all of them. Look. The weevils couldn't open it. You know what this means? I can still win the competition. All I've got to do is grow my fruit and veg in tins. Do you understand nothing? If the weevils have mutated once, they can do it again. And now that they've eaten, they're not invisible anymore. And if we can see them, they can see us. None of us are safe. You know what your trouble is? You think too much, Daddy. This isn't science fiction. This is the real world. And so it was on the eve of the competition that Broccoli's garden glinted with tinned fruit and veg. But even as she dreamed of rosettes and victory, the air outside her bedroom window was filled with beating wings. Bigger and heavier, the weevils swarmed into the garden and fell upon the cans. Still unable to open them, they mutated again, growing a can opener in the middle of their foreheads, the better to open the cans with and suck out the fruit. No! No! Stop! Those tins are gonna win me the competition! Get off! I've got a can of insecticide and I'm not afraid to use it! Go away, you horrid... But there was only one thing on their little insect minds. And it wasn't winning prizes, it was food. No! 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 And when it had sucked out all of her goodness, it left a wrinkled pile of empty skin for her parents to find in the morning. That'll teach her to mess with nature. 2 days later, Broccoli Brassica was genetically remodified from human being to weevil dung. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Popplethwaite won the Sleepy Backwater on the Mould Fruit and Vegetable competition with what the vicar described as the most succulent gooseberries I have ever tasted. Well done, Mrs. Popplethwaite.